Welcome to another edition of 805 Sports Talk. It's good to be back for our 56th edition of the show. And as the Spring Sports League regular season winds down, we're focusing on the championship races in baseball. The Pac-8 League title chase is getting kind of interesting with Rigetti falling to Paso Robles in a tight game Tuesday night, 4-3. The Warriors had a 3-0 lead. Let that slip away. Paso Robles came back and won that in the bottom of the 7th inning at Paso Robles. One interesting race that we've kind of been following a series this week is AG against St. Joseph. St. Joseph hosted the Eagles Tuesday. It was a back-and-forth battle. AG put up a 5 spot in the 3rd inning. St. Joseph hung around for a little bit, but the Eagles were able to put that one away and win 10-6, dropping St. Joseph to 6-10 in league play, and AG's in 3rd place in the Pac-8 coming into Wednesday with that victory.
Although this 2-run blast from Jamison Saul in the 6th inning was a big shot for the Knights, it wasn't enough to lift them over the Eagles in a Pac-8 League baseball game on Tuesday, with the Royal Grande winning 10-6 and improving to 9-7 in league play, moving them into a tie for 3rd place with SLO. The Eagles put up a 5 spot on St. Joseph starter Mike Enos in the 3rd inning, creating a gap the Knights just couldn't overcome. The Eagles ended up with 13 hits, and the Knights were right there with them with 12 hits of their own. They fall to 6-10 in Pac-8 play, good enough for 6th place. Cameron Hirohara had a nice day at the plate for Arroyo Grande. Here he drives in Zach Bullard with an RBI double to right field. Hirohara had 3 RBIs in the game. Michael McLean and David Frazier added 2 RBIs apiece for Arroyo Grande. Arroyo Grande starter Zach Mosley, a lefty, was effective for the Eagles, though a wild pitch here allows a St. Joseph run as Mark Rubalcaba scores on a wild pitch. Here Steely Morgan gets one of his 2 hits on the day. Morgan is St. Joseph's leading hitter on the season. The Eagles knocked Enos out of the game, and Zach Trevino came on to pitch for St. Joseph. Here Dawson Rubio picks up one of his 3 hits, driving in Trevin Brion. Rubio was also clutch at 3rd base with a nice double play, helping Zach Mosley get out of a jam after the Knights cut the lead to 9-5. The Knights did keep it close, though. Chris Cervantes rips a double to right field here. He had 2 hits in the game. But yet again, it wasn't enough as Arroyo Grande played well in the field, made enough pitches and made enough plays to pull out the win. Zachary Morris grounds out to second to end the game after Mason Alex came on from shortstop to close it out. The Eagles are 16-10 and 9-7 in the Pac-8 League. Entering play Wednesday, St. Joseph and AG are scheduled to close out their series on Friday at St. Joseph.
So basically it was all about that 5-run 3rd inning for the Eagles. What did you think about that performance from AG? They really needed to start this next to last series off right, and they get a 10-6 victory on the road at St. Joseph.
Well, for starters, I think you are correct. It was all about that 5-run 3rd inning. St. Joseph's offense was persistent after that. The Knights kept coming, but they couldn't really do much more than match runs with the Eagles after that, and that just didn't cut it. Rio Grande started off that 3rd inning with 5 straight hits, and they just rolled along from there. Rio Grande they're in a good spot now to get a playoff berth. They're sitting tied for 3rd. St. Joseph, they have a tough job. The good news for them is that they play head-to-head against 2 teams ahead of them in the league still. 2 games left against Arroyo Grande, 3-game series against San Luis Obispo. Bad news is they're sitting 6th with 5 games left, and they have to climb above 2 teams. And San Luis Obispo has won 7 straight, so they'll be facing a team that, at least for now, is on a roll.
Yeah, the Pac-8 is really shaped up into a very strong league, which we see Paso Robles leading right now, coming into Wednesday at 15-1. Rigetti is 13-3. AG's kind of really shaped up at 9-7, and you mentioned SLO's won 7 straight league games, and they're 9-7 in league, and Atascadero's right there at 8-8, and then St. Joseph is 6 at 6-10. So it's not easy to crack that top 4, especially for a program like St. Joseph, who is used to playing in the LPL and they're working their way into the Pac-8, and we'll see what happens once they transition to the Central section. But it's not easy to crack that top 4, as we've seen, and those top 4 teams are all playing really well right now. So it's kind of shaping up. As we can see, the playoff spots are going to start really solidifying. We'll see if Rigetti can tighten up that race between the 1 and 2 spots with Paso Robles. They got the finale in that series Friday at Paso, and then their final series the next week. So, it's really coming down to the next couple of days here where it's crunch time. If you want to, make a claim for that league title, it's got to happen now. And that was a disappointing game for Rigetti, but we'll see if they can bounce back. They've bounced back a couple times. We're at that Atascadero game where it looked like they were going to lose, and RJ Clayton had that big hit. So we know they can rally. We'll see what happens here. I think that Friday game is going to be huge. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Moving to the LPL side of things, not much intrigue there, as
Nope.
San Ynez, I think, has clinched
San
at least.
Ynez and San Maria's thought of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, San Ynez 15-3. The next closest team is Templeton in second place at 12-6. So that's pretty much locked up there. But Santa Maria's got a big win over Templeton on Tuesday. We joke about the Saints struggling when you're in attendance covering a game.
2-5 or 2-6, something like that.
Yeah, 2-5, 2-6 when Kenny covers them. And of course, they pull a big win over Templeton on Tuesday. What's going on with the Saints? Where do you expect them to be when everything is wrapped up next week?
I think they just, frankly, I think they put themselves in a much better spot with the win. You can say one game doesn't make a big difference, but at this point in the season and with the schedule teams they're continuing with have left, I think it does. Santa Maria has one game left against Templeton Friday. Good news, Saints fans. I am not covering that one. And they have two. You don't want to overlook anybody, but they are playing the Pomo to close out their regular season. They have beaten the Pomo once. The Pomo is below them in the standings. And Lompoc and Cabrillo, who they're fighting with for that third, fourth spot, they play each other next week. So they're going to. So while they're beating each other up, maybe the Saints can take 2 games in which would probably lock up a spot for them.
Yeah, so San Ynez is 15-3, Templeton 12-6, and Santa Maria and Cabrillo were both 10-8 coming into Wednesday. And you brought up Lompoc, which is 9-9. They were really strong. I think they were in second place, not too long ago. Maybe before spring break, they were right there with San Ynez. And then we saw Tuesday, Lorenzo, who's covering the LPL swim finals and is not here today, saw Napomo come back, rally, and beat Lompoc. And Napomo's 5-13 in league, and Lompoc's 9-9. So Lompoc has to regroup. Now they're kind of in the same boat as Cabrillo, where kind of underperforming, don't know what you're going to get from game to game. So we'll see if Lompoc can rally and regroup, and I think those games next week between Lompoc and Cabrillo are going to decide a lot.
I think teams. That loss yesterday really hurt Lompoc. When you're battling for a playoff spot, you must beat the teams that are below you in the standings. Santa Maria took a jolt when they lost 2 out of 3 to Morro Bay, which is also below them in the standings. And
I don't think Morro Bay's made the playoffs in about a decade. I was reading something on that they might have a late push and make a run at the playoffs, and they're 9-9 as well. So that's a little more wide open in the middle of the pack, but San Ynez has got that one wrapped up, pretty much at the top of that LPL standings. And quick note on Rigetti, Jaden Libertis missed that game against Paso Robles. I think he could have been a huge factor in that game. Obviously, he's maybe the top position player in the area, looking toward, college and maybe one day playing professional baseball. But, he's out with an injured pinky.
That was that's a hard loss for them.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players to watch. So that would have definitely had an impact in that series. Hopefully he'll be able to get back for the postseason. Jaden Libertis, center fielder for the Warriors, a leadoff man, great hitter, great fielder. So hopefully he'll get healthy, get right, and be able to help his team out once the playoffs come around. Moving to the Roundtable, Elliott, you've been covering that for us the last couple of months, and you had a little treat on Monday. Charles Summer, who usually MCs that thing, had another engagement, so I heard you had to kind of run the show on Monday. What was that like?
Well, it was different. They asked me to step in and fill in for Charles as the master of ceremonies for the Roundtable, and usually I go and I just watch. Charles runs the show, and I talk to the coaches and the athletic directors and the players and write the story about it. But this week it would put me in a little different position, so I brought Lorenzo along so he could write the story, because you can't really do both. So, you know, you have to introduce everybody. You have to point out the highlights that each of the teams or the schools have for their respective seasons. You make note of who the special people are in the audience, the special guests. So it's a different position to have. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and being able to kind of direct the afternoon's program, but it's still the same old roundtable. So the way it's structured, you go through each of the schools that are there, and as the master of ceremonies, I got to pick the order, and I kind of just went right around the room, make it easy for me so that I could see that there's Pioneer Valley, and then Rigetti, and then Hancock College and St. Joe. So I just kind of made it that way, pick on the next table up, and then when it's all said and done, one of the things everybody comes there for is the Athlete of the Week, and they hold that till the very end. And of course, I never miss a chance to make fun of Lompok's Dick Barrett. He and I are basically the same age, so a couple old guys that have a good time with each other, and you know, you get to do things like that. Usually I just write it into the story, but this time, of course, when I was the master of ceremonies, I got to highlight all of his highlights and lowlights of his long career at Lompoc High School before introducing him to come up and talk about his school's athletics. Now, this week we had two athletes of the week. One of them was off playing in a playoff game. That was Miranda Morales, Hancock College softball. She was honored for delivering a walk-off single and a 4-3 win over Moore Park in the first game of a doubleheader last week. And then she drove in 2 runs on 2 hits and a 6-2 win in the second game. And that game gave the Bulldogs a share of the WSC, Western State Conference Championship, with Ventura. But since they beat Ventura 2 out of 3 games, they got the #1 seed in the playoffs. And then they had a play-in game in the playoffs and won that, so they'll be going to the actual first round. And I'd like to thank Hancock's Andrew Masuda for keeping us up to date on that, because they were on the road and we weren't able to get there, and Andrew got us all the details, so thank you, Andrew, for doing that. And then for the male athlete of the week was Justin Buenaventura. He's a golfer for Cabrillo High School, and I tell you what, this kid has had one of the most dominating league seasons that we've seen. Now, Arroyo Grande has 2 brothers, Jack and Owen Averett, in the Pac-8, who have done a similar thing, with Jack actually leading the way for the Eagles. Excuse me, but Justin was the medalist in every single league tournament this year except one, and he didn't fail in that one. He was the co-medalist, so he was tied for low score in that one tournament. So every league tournament he had the low score. So he's leading Cabrillo into the playoffs, and he's a real nice kid. That's one of the things that's great about the Roundtable. You get to, you know, we all know the coaches, especially the ones that have been around a long time. We know the athletic directors, but the kids, you know, you talk about like Jaden Libertus. He's one of those kids we followed from Little League. He was a big boomer in Little League. He hit home runs all the time, and he got his picture in the paper. In the summer, we have the Little League playoffs and the city's playoffs, the Orchid playoffs, then the Valley Championship, and then the District 65 competition. So we've got to see kids like Jaden Libertus, but a lot of these kids like Justin Buenaventura, it's golf, and they don't get quite the notoriety. And when you go to the Roundtable, you get to meet people like him, and he was a really nice kid. I'd actually talked to him a couple times before this, but it was the first time he was honored. And you know, they always thank their teammates and their coaches, but really, when you talk to him, it's a lot of hard work. You think, oh, it's golf, but it's a lot of hard work. It's not just you go out there, hit the ball, and you get an even par 72. There's practice, practice, practice on the driving range, on the putting green, chipping, just to get your stroke down. And he's put the practice in, and he got the Athlete of the Week. And now there's just one more week of the regular season for the Roundtable. That'll be next Monday. The final 2 Athletes of the Week will be recognized. And that's, of course, at Giovanni's Pizza and Orchid every week. Everybody thanks them, and they do a great job every week all through the school year. And then on Wednesday, May 17th, you're all encouraged to come out to the end of the year Roundtable banquet. The prime thing that the Northern Santa Barbara County Athletic Roundtable does is raise money for scholarships. And at the end of the year, they award a male and female Athlete of the Year and a male and female Scholar Athlete of the Year, and they all get scholarships to help them with furthering their education. It's only seniors that are allowed to be in this contest, so that every year it's the senior class that there are members that are honored, and every school submits a bunch of applicants or candidates for the Roundtable Awards, and it is a tough decision for the Roundtable's committee. I'm not a part of that, so it's an independent organization, and they pick who is going to go and not only get the awards for the end of the year, but also who's going to go into the Hall of Fame. And Mr. Barrett let everybody know at the Roundtable this past Monday who is going into the Hall of Fame. So since he's made it public, I figured I could let you all know here. And I think you'll recognize all of these names. Joe Hagerman. It was a long-time city Parks and Rec guy. He was a prime mover for youth sports in the community for years. He's going to be honored posthumously, but I got to know him fairly well over the years because I used to co-host Sports Talk with Rick Blameyer, and we'd have Joe on regularly to talk about the youth sports. And I tell you, he was the nicest guy in the world, but he hated being on the radio. But now just behind us, behind the Santa Maria Times building, and right directly behind the YMCA, which is our next door neighbor, is the Joe Hagerman Sports Complex, and they play softball, and there's actually one baseball field over there. And it's busy all the time, and it's basically there because of Joe Hagerman, and he was a great guy. And then the second person that's going to be honored is Bobby White, a longtime Hancock College math teacher. But he's being honored, of course, for his many, many years, the winningest coach in Hancock College basketball history, men's basketball history. So he'll be going into the Hall of Fame. Now, he's retired and actually lives in Las Vegas. But I did talk to his brother David the other day, and Bobby doesn't know about it yet. But and I didn't let on to David, but I asked him if Bobby has any plans to coming back for the dinner, and Bobby doesn't know yet, but he should be here. And then from Cabrillo softball, longtime coach, who was always fun to work with and led some really great teams. Mary Beth Stieber is going into the Hall of Fame, and an old timer, excuse me, from Lompoc football coach, Lompoc native and Lompoc High School graduate Mike Warren is going to go in to Hall of Fame. So it's going to be a good group of people getting in, and that'll be part of these evening's festivities. I have something to do with that program, but they haven't quite explained it to me what they want me to do, but I will be there. Kenny, you'll be there to write the story, and then we'll find out at that point who the Athletes of the Year and the Scholar Athletes of the Year are. And if you can get there, the tickets are available, and you can email Joni Gray. I'm sure she's got an easy email to find, and it'll be Wednesday, May 17th up at the Elks Lodge.
Thank you, Elliott. I'm glad you mentioned those Athletes of the Week and those who are going in the Hall of Fame. They've put in a lot of work. You know, those guys for their careers. Mary Beth Stieber still, I think, a good tennis coach in the area. And so lots of good people who are going in the Hall of Fame. Lots of great student athletes who are seniors this year in high school who will get honored. So that's great that the Roundtable exists in our part of the area, and those kids get honored, and they have a great banquet for them if you want to support that, make sure to go out. You can go join the dinner, have some fun, and see those kids get honored, and they do get some scholarship money, which is always good.
There's one thing too, that we live here, and you're a native, a Santa Maria High School graduate, Fresno State graduate, and came back home to your hometown. And Kenny and I have been here about 17 years each, although he's from Riverside and the other Cal Poly, Pomona, and I'm from the East Coast. But once you come here and get to know the community and the people, and you go to these Roundtable weekly luncheons, what they do is they honor the college kids too. Hancock College, as you see, Miranda Morales got the Athlete of the Week this week. And invariably, when you have kids that went to high school in San Luis Obispo County or went to high school outside the area completely and they get Athlete of the Week, one of the first things they say is, we never had anything like this where we grew up. You know, they have their high schools and their playoffs and their championships, and they get MVPs for the championships, but they don't have a roundtable. And we have the Northern Santa Barbara County Athletic Roundtable, and it works very hard to promote high school and college athletics on the Central Coast. So it's unique, and I think that's something that should be mentioned and recognized.
Yep, so be sure to tune in for all that coverage in the coming weeks. We do have the one last roundtable on Monday. We have a lot of great baseball coverage planned for the rest of this week, and when everything wraps up as well, and a lot of league championships are going to be decided in the coming weeks and days, so be sure to check out our coverage any chance you get. Thank you once again for tuning in to 805 Sports Talk.